Hello again. This is James with ICT. Welcome back. In this video, I want to go over IP address, the Internet Protocol address. What is it and why is it so important? Well, it is, and I'm about to show you why. Let's go over a basic concept of snail mail. Uh, so, way back when, we used to take out paper, pencils, pens, and use them to actually communicate. So what we would do is we write a letter. We take that letter, we put it in an envelope. We take that envelope, put a stamp on it. We put that stamped envelope with our address, from and to address, into the mail for the post office to get shipped to the other side where it's supposed to be received. Fingers crossed. Anyway, very similarly, the same way that IP addressing works. If we were to take a piece of mail from 176 Baker Street, Des Moines, Iowa, and send it to 176 Baker Street, Denver, Colorado. We try to send that information through the mail. Now notice that they both have the same address, street address, and address on the street. So we have 176 Baker Street, Des Moines, Iowa, and Denver, Colorado. So we have two different cities, two different states. Let me try to explain how this works. When we send a piece of mail in the post office, it goes from the post office to a separation facility. From that facility, it gets processed and shipped across the country. Once it's shipped across the country, it's received by the other facility. Once it's received at the other facility, it's processed, then sent to the post office. From that post office into the mail carrier's bag. The mail carrier sends it down the street to your mailbox on your street address. So again, if we were going to say we were sending it from 176 Baker Street, Des Moines, Iowa, to 176 Baker Street, Denver, Colorado, we would be sending it through, from our post office to the processing facility, from the processing facility to across the country to another processing facility, then over to your post office, then from your post office to your mail carrier down the street to you. Now we're going to talk about how the IP address works. An IP address is like having a address for your computer. 176 Baker Street is the address for the house that we were actually talking about just a few moments ago. 176 Baker Street was also the receiving address, but in another city and in another state. Now, an IP address is very similar. It is your IP. It is your address for your computer. IP address, Internet Protocol address. The subnet is something we're going to get into a little bit later. That has a lot to do with how this works. But for now, we're just going to stick with the address from the sending PC that you see in the screen in front of you, which is right here, 192.168.0.10. Well, that information needs to make it on the superhighway. Once it makes it on the internet, it's going to have to be received on the other side. So the receiving PC, as you can see, has received this information and it has the same address as 192.168.0.10. Very similarly to the way that the addresses from the other scenario worked. 176 Baker Street, 176 Baker Street, 192.168.0.10 for both addresses for the PCs. Confused yet? Well, in this understanding here is that both post office processing facilities, and everything else in between, including the destination and sending address, are also have more information to them, such as a city and state, which is allowing you to designate where it's actually going. By using the processing facility, which has its own address, the post office, which has its own address, and then the receiving process facility and the receiving post office all have their own address. Very similarly, this information that we're about to send from this phone which is 192.168.0.10, transmits wirelessly to the wireless router. That wireless router has an address of its own, which in this scenario is 192.168.0.254. Now that also sends its information all the way up to 207.168.56138. That is an IP address for the modem that hooks up to the internet and is unique in the world. That unique address helps everything to work. So on the other side of this, we would have the receiving PC or phone in this scenario of 127. The receiving address is 192.168.0.10, but it makes its way through 276.36.54.179. If I could read that correctly, the screen's right behind you, right there. And the 192.168.0.254 is the same as the other situation on the sending side, but this receiving one has a unique address with the modem as well. All modems are very unique. They have their own unique address, which allows them to communicate with each other in the world. That information hops onto the superhighway and hopefully comes all the way back to us. So the way it worked was we have a sending address of 176 Baker Street, Des Moines, Iowa. A unique identifier, Des Moines, Iowa, city and state. We send it to 176 Baker Street, Denver, Colorado. Another unique identifier. This helps us to know where it is in the world. Very similarly, the modems that we communicate with to the internet allow us to do the very same thing. So because of that, we have the ability to communicate with similar addresses inside our networks as other networks would have. Just like different cities have a center street, a main street, a first street, a second street, a first avenue, a second avenue. Same thing. But the unique identifier being city and state. So the modem takes care of it all. That helps us with the IP address and understanding how this information gets communicated. With that being very unique information to a unique source from a unique or to a unique destination, that's how the IP address helps you communicate. So please check out our website to look at any of the additional videos that we have. Check out the LinkedIn profile on the left, or also check out the Facebook. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.